A new class of drugs is saving the lives of children who once had no hope. These high tech medicines can replace defective genes, but there's a catch. Many cost millions of dollars for a single dose, and American healthcare hasn't figured out how to pay. We wondered how medicine could be priced so high and how insurance plans could refuse a life saving treatment. So we asked the people you're about to meet. A drug maker whose company charges $3 million for its medication, a CEO whose insurance plan won't pay, and a mother named C.G. Green. C.G. was overjoyed that a new drug could save the life of her daughter Maisie until she found no one would pay the price of life. Tiny Maisie was born in 2017. C.G. Green says that from the start, her daughter was mysteriously ill. When you brought Maisie home, what did you begin to notice?
Initially, she just sounded like she had a cold all the time. She just sounded really congested. And after, I'd say like 2 weeks, I noticed that Maisie wasn't holding her head at all. She was just like jello. Her head, neck was like jello. And her head would just flop.
C.G. had a feeling something was terribly wrong, something doctors couldn't name, until one took a blood sample to test for spinal muscular atrophy, SMA.
And she left with the blood, and she came back and she goes, "You heard me when I said we're testing for SMA." And I said, "Yes, I heard." And she goes, "Do you know what that is?" And I go, "No." She put her hand out, and I said, "Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me," because I knew everything I had been feeling. "Please don't touch me." I said, what can we do? What can you do?" And she shook her head. She said, "Love her and squeeze her."
A missing gene caused Maisie's muscles to waste away. SMA is often fatal by age 2. Then, just in time, in 2019, something like a miracle was approved by the FDA. Just one dose of a drug called Zolgensma can replace the gene to stop the disease. But the dose is $2 million. Maisie was on her state's Medicaid. The insurance company that managed Medicaid said it would not pay.
I became very angry to know that there was something that could help her. And I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, I was burying my daughter before she was 2. It was cheaper for her to die. They were banking on her dying.
Maisie's story is a view on what's coming to American healthcare, because today there are more than 300 high-cost genetic therapies in clinical trials, some for diseases suffered by millions of patients.
I liken it to a coming tsunami, which is basically going to overwhelm the employer-sponsored insurance system.
Few know healthcare finance, as well as Jonathan Gruber. He's chair of economics at MIT and an architect of the Affordable Care Act.
What happens when you have genetic cell and gene therapies that treat cancer or heart disease, which are much more common? That's when the tsunami hits and we're threatened to be underwater.
What problems are the high prices already causing today?
The first problem is that many companies in America are what we call self-insured. They pay their own medical bills. About 2/3 of the insured in America are in such arrangements. They can't afford to pay this. So they're facing a difficult financial decision, which is, do I cover this drug and potentially go bankrupt? Or do I not help my unlucky employee?
That's the painful question Mike Poor faced.
It should not be that only the rich can afford the best care.
Poor is CEO of Mosaic Life Care, a nonprofit hospital system in Missouri with about 5,000 employees. In 2023, Mosaic decided not to cover gene therapies because Mike Poor told us employee premiums would jump $125 a month. But a few months later, an employee had twins with SMA, like Maisie. And the gene therapy for the twins would be $4.2 million.
Yes.
Denied coverage, the family went public and blamed Mosaic.
I got death threats. My family was threatened.
What did you do to protect your family?
Actually sent them away and decided to, stay on at the hospital and then just work to make sure that the children got the care they needed.
From the moment his health plan denied the claim, Mike Poore appealed to philanthropists and legislators. Finally, state Medicaid paid to treat the twins.
What's really important here is to understand that this is one situation, but it is a bellwether of what is to come. Every new gene therapy breaks a record for the most expensive drug ever.
You seem to be saying there's a storm coming.
It's definitely a storm coming.
Who charges millions for a drug? Doug Ingram is among them. The CEO of Sarepta Therapeutics took us into a freezer at 4 degrees below zero, where he stores Elevidys, which costs $3.2 million for one dose, which may be all that is needed to slow Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a muscle-wasting disease that confronts parents with this prognosis.
They're always told, your boy has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. There's nothing we can do about it. Go home, love him, because this disease is going to steal him from you bit by bit, day by day, and he will die, and you got to get used to that.
People hear $3.2 million for your drug, and they think greed.
Here's what they should think. So first of all, if the question is this the right price or only price, and can society afford this? You're going to hear me say that it absolutely is, and society absolutely can afford it, and we'll go into that. If you're asking me whether this is the sort of price that we should be happy with and satisfied in the long term with gene therapies and genetic medicine, I'm going to tell you absolutely not.
Ingram's company uses an engineered gene that instructs the child's cells to make a protein to protect the muscles. A modified virus carries the gene to the cells. Development took 18 years.
So the first question is, could you even do this and do this safely? The second question that was obvious is, if you could, you have to manufacture this stuff. And at the moment in time we did the calculation, you needed more gene therapy manufacturing capacity than all of the capacity that exists on the planet Earth at the time. Every company, every research facility, every university. And we'd never made a vial of anything that looked like a gene therapy at that moment. And the next thing, you'd have to raise billions of dollars. You have to go to investors and paint a picture of the future and literally raise billions of dollars to do this. We didn't have billions of dollars.
It took $3 billion to create Elevidys, according to Ingram. One of his challenges now is recouping that investment in a rare disease that has only about 15,000 patients in the U.S. Ingram says the price will come down with manufacturing experience, future competition, and, in his view, streamlined federal regulations.
Today, on average, it takes more than 10 years to develop a therapy. It costs nearly $3 billion on average to make a therapy. And at the beginning of that journey, the probability of it being successful is nearly zero. And in the context of that, of course, therapies, when they're eventually approved, are going to be very expensive. So what we need to do is fix that. We've had 60, 70 years of layering and layering and layering of requirements, all for the laudable goal of ensuring that the therapies that are approved in the United States are both safe and effective. We have to do the hard work of getting under that and stripping it down to those things that are absolutely necessary, informed by the science that we have today, not the science we had in the 60s, and find a way to make therapies less than $3 billion with a higher probability of success.
Despite mixed results, the FDA approved ELEVIDYS. About 1,100 patients have been treated. 2 died of liver failure. About half of the patients were covered by Medicaid. It's too soon to fully evaluate how well ELEVIDYS is working, but the vial Doug Ingram showed us was made for a boy named Leighton, and months after his treatment, Leighton's parents told us he is, quote, thriving, stronger, and more independent. Is there a bad guy in this equation? Employers who won't pay, drug companies that are charging enormous fees for these drugs?
The manufacturer is not the bad guy. The company's not the bad guy. Really, there's no bad guys here, Scott. We just have to recognize as a society that something's changed. We have a new, miraculous, and expensive mode of treatment. And we, society, need to recognize that we need to act jointly to absorb those costs.
Economist Jonathan Gruber says, in his view, absorbing those costs will require government support and negotiated prices. Until then, parents, including C.G. Green, must improvise. Green pursued philanthropy for her daughter Maisie, set up a GoFundMe page, and demanded a meeting with the insurance company. You wanted them to look her in the eye.
Yes, I wanted them to look her in the eye and say, we're the reason you're going to die.
The insurance board blinked. Maisie received the genetic therapy drug Zolgensma in 2019. 1 dose, 1 hour, and the effect was what?
You can't even describe it. Amazing. Amazing Maisie. It changed her life. It changed our life. It was what she needed.
Can we meet her now?
You sure can. I'd love to meet Maisie.
Expected to die by age 2, she was 6 when we met, after a treatment so successful that CG has appeared in testimonials for the drug company. The impairment suffered before the drug cannot be reversed. Maisie doesn't walk, but she's making straight A's in school. Hi, Maisie.
Hi.
CG told us the progress of the disease appears to have stopped. And what is the price of that?
Precious little wave.
I'm so glad to meet you.
You say nice to meet you?
Nice to meet you.
Your own miracle.
My very own miracle.